Come in. I have a special assignment that requires a delicate touch. A science ship on patrol in grid Beta 53-30 received an encrypted message from the Voth. This wasn't a message from a military ship or the Voth leadership. This was an encoded short-range burst from a Voth science outpost. I think we may have a friend in the enemy's ranks. It'd be best if any communication from our side didn't come from our leadership, for reasons you'll soon see. I want you to pursue a dialogue with this individual. See if we can turn them into an ally. That is all. I'm trying to contact any member of the mammalian occupying force who is willing to open negotiations. I am Nellen Exel of the Voth Circle of Archaeology, and I believe that we have common scientific goals that can only be achieved without the interference of our respective militaries. Working alongside the best minds of the Voth Circles of Science, I have been studying this celestial structure, its function and its original inhabitants. Our work has yielded some troubling information for those seeking to uphold the doctrine that we are the original intelligent species in the Delta Quadrant. The Voth Ministry of Elders maintains that science is only valid if it supports their own fictions of history. I've lost too many colleagues to this terrible government censorship. What I've been able to discover on my own and away from government interruptions is that this sphere was created by a race under direct control of a species called the Iconians. Even ignoring the huge cache of records we found here, the mere existence of this sphere proves that there are powerful entities my government refuses to acknowledge, perhaps to our ultimate doom. I will not be so naive. Left high and dry by my own people, I am left with few options. There must be a sympathetic ear out there that realizes we have entered the nest of an enemy that neither of us are prepared to face alone. I was pleased to receive your message, even if I have to keep this conversation a secret from everyone I know. There are many topics that have been deemed controversial and off-limits. Inquisitors examine our work on a regular basis, but questions need to be asked if we are to maintain any sort of scientific credibility. Have you ever wondered at the fact that both our people were able to enter this sphere from opposite ends? That we could move through halls, through rooms, through entire buildings without finding another living thing? Until we encountered one another. The Ministry of Elders would have me publish papers claiming that this sphere was created by our ancestors. But why would they abandon this place? Why would anyone abandon this place? As far as I can tell, this place was commissioned but not built by a race called the Iconians. A war forced them to abandon their home in favor of this more strategic location. Imagine how many fleets of warships could fit inside here, fed by food grown on thousands of hectares of carefully constructed surfaces, powered by the entire energy of a star, and all waiting to ambush from the dark space of the night sky. The Voth are not warmongers. We have taught doctrine to weaker species, but weapons are usually not required. When the Voth have encountered opposition, we have resisted attempts by others to add us to their own ranks. Fights between evenly matched adversaries tend to be futile. A sphere might convince some that the odds have shifted in our favor. Which brings us back to my first question. Why did the original inhabitants of the sphere leave? Did they feel safe and pick a fight against a superior enemy and lose? Or were they forced to leave by some internal flaw in their fortress? We may all be doomed to the fate of those who lived here before if we aren't careful.
End of file.
Hello. Thank you for continuing to remind me that there are other sane minds out there. My concerns about the dangers of the sphere's technology have fallen on deaf ears. In rebuttal, I'm fed propaganda about the sphere's Voth origins and how easy my job should be. But how easy can a job be if I'm constantly being interrupted by alarms and avoiding catastrophes? In my lab, the Ministry of Elders and their Inquisitor lackeys have installed accomplices who are willing to answer yes when I say no. Advancement is their only goal, not reason, not discovery, and certainly not safety. Unfortunately, they are rarely up to the tasks for which they volunteer. But the problems may be bigger than incompetent lab techs. No one here wants to hear that we may not be capable of using this technology, or that the cost of trying could be the destruction of this entire sector of space. The builders of this sphere aren't here to tell us the results of their experiments, but I'm convinced that something did go terribly wrong. There is evidence of a celestial trauma that has significantly reduced the energy output from this installation's central star. Add to that the fact that the spires have been optimized for a different spectral band than the one that this star produces, and we're left with strong evidence of a large-scale industrial accident. Such an accident would explain why this place was abandoned. I've conducted a detailed scan of one of the spires and found trace amounts of tetryon particles. Any industrial accident large enough to leave these trace tetryon particles thousands of years afterwards would have permeated all organic life caught in the blast, with enough tetrayonic energy to force any survivors to retreat to subspace. So, if the creators of this technology weren't savvy enough to prevent such a huge disaster, what chance do my people or yours have to do any better? I fear this technology. I fear it in not just the wrong hands, but in any hands. We need to work together to make sure no one tries to activate the sphere. Our lives may depend on it.
End of file.
I'm sorry for the delay in my response, but I needed to take extra precautions with my communications. After another round of disastrous tests in combining Voth and sphere technologies, I was offered up as a scapegoat. I am no longer a member of the Voth Circle of Archaeology. But I've been doing this for so long, it's hard to stop keeping an eye on my former colleagues' experiments. Now my curiosity is tinged with a hint of fear. Their findings may be corrupted. When it was discovered that the omega particles generated by this structure were sent to collection sites in the outer shell, the first thought was to blindly jumpstart this process, rather than to methodically determine its purpose. I'm afraid our leaders are so entranced by the perceived benefits of this advanced technology, they are willing to forego common-sense safety measures. Luckily, there are a few of us left who make safe and sane actions our primary objective. And luckier still, there are enough of your ships and soldiers causing problems inside our defensive lines that my actions are blamed on you. I'm not alone in this opinion. Our superiors are pushing hard to unlock this technology. There's a perceived lack of progress, and they are trying to make up for lost time. I'm sure you understand gravity as it applies to physics, but it also has a social component. When our leadership feels pressure, it is quickly felt by those below them. First by the military, then by the citizenry. The Voth have never taken kindly to dissenters. But there is no comparison between those who speak out against doctrine back home and those who fight for basic scientific inquiry here and now. I fear I'll be discovered at any moment, but I fear even more that the work I'm doing won't continue on. Please stay safe.
End of file.
We've intercepted new Voth military communications. I think they've outed your contact.
One file received at 0530 hours today.
I'm sad at the thought that this may be my final transmission. I've enjoyed our talks together, but I came across something tonight that is too important to leave to chance. I was recently assigned to the Circle of Material Sciences. Apparently, my expertise in using isotopes to date archaeological finds means I'm an expert in chemistry, at least to a military personnel officer. One disadvantage of keeping disciplines separate based on expertise is a lack of shared knowledge. Where my new colleagues added footnotes about inverted tetryon particles, I saw a connection to omega molecules, a connection of which they were unaware. On a small scale, my hypothesis yielded a small rift. Applied to the scale of this entire facility, this sphere was built to travel through subspace, across the galaxy. The Voth leadership was excited to learn of this discovery as well. Imagine an entire solar system full of ships hiding inside this sphere. Imagine teleporting them anywhere in the galaxy in an instant. I assure you there are Voth battle plans in the works right now using this strategy. My species is under attack near our home sector. The fighting has reached a stalemate, but there are still lives being lost on both sides. Every option is being examined to bring an end to the fighting, even the most extreme. I've seen reports on weaponizing omega molecules to destroy large swaths of subspace and lock our enemies into their own parts of space. I must put an end to my people's pursuit of such disastrous weaponry. I will not have a part in isolating the Voth race by making space unnavigable, even at the price of a continuing war. My work with the Voth is finished. Hopefully I will not follow suit.
End of file.
Go get him. Maybe you can find him before his people do.